Hi, my name is Derek, and this is the Gateway Log. This is where I go through my experiences doing the Gateway tapes. This is essentially where I go through the Gateway tapes and I talk about my journey, my learns, my fails, my successes, and then share it with you. And ultimately, what this is it's not here to convince you that this stuff works. I'm just documenting. I do a tape, I write down a little journal entry, I review it, I tell you about it, and take it for what it's worth. I don't know the answers. I don't know anything. I'm new. So I've been doing the Gateway tapes pretty solidly for the last month or so, usually 2 to 3 meditations a day. And the past couple of weeks have been crazy. You can learn a little bit more about that on my previous videos. But today I want to talk about yet another leap. So I'm recording this on Christmas Eve. I've got my notes here just to make sure I don't forget anything. So on December 21st, I did a morning session. I did a Focus 15. So I woke up a lot earlier than I typically do. I usually wake up on weekends, or usually around 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. But I woke up at 5:30, and for me lately, I've been trying to take those opportunities as okay, maybe I should try to meditate. I don't know. So I did that. I did a meditation where I used the Expand app first, and I turned on a free flow Focus 15. And I didn't quite get there. My mind just wasn't settling. I couldn't get comfortable. And I was laying in bed, it was pitch black, still very early, with winter solstice. So, it's dark until 7 a.m. So I then changed my phone and went to the Gateway tapes, and I did I think the third Focus 15 tape, which is I think is like a free flow, where the narrator walks you through and gets you to Focus 15. And I was sitting there, I was a little bit mind restless, and then it started to settle, and then I saw a little bit of light behind my eyes, like my eyelids, because there's two types of visions for me. I feel like when I receive something, it's on the back of my eyelids, and when I'm imagining it, it's like it's behind my eyeballs. That's the only way I can explain it. But um, I was seeing light on the back of my eyelids, and while I was sitting there, I could then see uh, essentially a shadow walk by. It felt like walking by. I can't tell you what the shadow was. It didn't look like a person. It just I could see light, and I saw a black shape of a body, maybe an orb, something black. It's like they walked by, and then another one walked by, and another one, and one more. I think it was 4 total. And I had the impression that I was being circled. I felt like I was sitting upward, but I was laying down in bed, and it felt like they were just walking around. And then the vision ended, and that was it. There was no interaction. I don't know what it was. I can't say who it was. I didn't hear any voices. I didn't see anything else. But I have had that experience on Focus 15 quite a few times. So what that is, I don't know. If you have an idea, feel free to share it. All right. So that evening on December 21st, I did a Focus 12 session. And so typically when I do a session, I do my deep relaxation. I will go through my I go through doing my affirmations. I imagine my energy conversion box, and I do the whole process. And usually, the very first thing I do when I get to Focus 12 is that I do my affirmations and or patterning, if you will. And the patterning is there's 2 or 3 things that I really am trying to manifest into my life, not by like I want this, but just imagining the feeling. And I've been told you don't have to do that on the daily. In fact, the tapes would tell you to do it once, release it, and then don't do it for a while. I just feel really positive when I do it. So I did that. I then got to a point where I was numb in Focus 12, and then I imagined doing a roll like I'm in a log, like I'm a log rolling over in water. And then I felt like I was face first to the ground. And then I wondered, ooh, could I fly up? So I imagined flying backwards, which would mean I'm facing the ground. And then I like fly up like that. I didn't have any visuals. It just felt like I was rising. After a few moments of that feeling, then it felt like I was being tugged to my right, like I was being pulled. And then I felt like air and wind and speed was going this way. It was just that way, that way. And then a vision of a desert appeared, what I thought to be a desert. It was like yellowish, and very desert-like, features hills. And I was moving along something really fast, and I didn't know what it was. Like, honestly, after trying to discern what it was, I was like, maybe it's a horse. Something's moving very quickly along the landscape. And after a few moments, that vision disappeared. I didn't think much of it. I just, okay, again, just write it down if I see it. Then I wondered, okay, can I communicate with somebody today? Every once in a while, I'll try to use one of the tools they teach you. So I use what they call an energy light bar. And what it is that you imagine that you're holding a bar of light. And I just imagine a lightsaber. It's just easier that way. So I imagine I'm holding this bar of light, and I imagine I look at it and I'm charging it. And when I'm looking at it, it like electrifies. And again, when I say I imagine it, it's behind my eyeballs. It's not on my eyelids. I don't see it clearly. It's like I'm imagining it. And once I did that, I was like, I wonder if I could send a message to a friend of mine. So I thought of them, and then you have to create a tube. So I just imagine drawing a tube with the lightsaber. And then after I do it, I grab the edge of it and I hold it up to my head. And at that moment, I felt like I got sucked into a tube, like I'm being vacuumed. And I'm like flying really fast, like, holy shit, and then I get to the edge and it's just black. And I just start thinking and imagining thoughts to see if I can get a thought to them, see if they would mention it. But you never really get immediate feedback when you do that. So after I tried that for a couple moments, nothing was happening. And then I was like, well, I wonder if that light bar could get me to the moon. I don't know. I've never been to the moon. So I used the light bar. I drew the circle and I imagined it going straight into the sky. And then I held the tube up to my face, and I felt like I was being sucked even faster. Like, oh my God. And in my mind's eye, not my eyelids, where it was like a vision, I just felt like I was flying up from Earth. But again, I didn't have any clear visions of it. And then when I felt like I slowed down and stopped, I might have been at the moon. I don't know. I tried it 2 more times, just trying to send thoughts or messages to friends using the same technique. And then after that, it was over. I think 50 minutes had passed, so I was done for the evening. So again, really cool feelings, no visuals, no real visuals. The next day, and also, I just want to make note of that desert vision. Just keep that in the back of your mind. All right, on 12/22, I had a really short session. It was a long day, so I was only able to do one meditation. So I used the Focus app or the Expand app, and I did Focus 12. I didn't see much. I was able to get through my patterning, and I felt really good. And I was able to imagine rolling like a log. And then after a moment, I felt like I was floating, like floating a few inches off the ground. And it's where your whole body's numb, but you feel yourself like pulsating. And then I saw a brief vision of a desk. I didn't know what it was. And then that disappeared. And then the session ended and I was exhausted. I was just so tired. I just went to bed. So again, didn't think much of that one. Last night, 12/23, I did the tape 5 messages. Um, and that's where you do the meditation, and Bob Monroe walks you through and he says, okay, you're going to ask, what is the 5th thing that you need to know? What is the 4th thing you need to know? And you go all the way down to what is the first thing I need to know? And you're supposed to wait usually a couple of minutes to see if images pop into your head or words or whatever. I did it. I honestly, every time I'd ask the question, I'd click out, meaning I'd fall asleep. And then I'd hear him talk and I'd wake back up again, but I'd still have my eyes closed. I'd be like, oh, okay, I gotta focus, try to focus. I didn't get any visuals during this, nothing. I just, kept clicking out. So once I got to the end of that, I was like, they do say that those answers can get to you within 3 days, so keep an eye out for any and all signs because you never know how they might show up. So then I decided, all right, I'm just going to do a Focus 12, just a free flow Focus 12. So I did my affirmations, got back up. This time I didn't do my patterning because I'd already done it in the previous meditation. And then I felt like I was riding sideways during a sunset, and it was near a vehicle, and I was floating and I'm being pulled. It's like I'm being pulled and I'm riding along. And this vision's not like super, super, super clear. We're talking, this is on the back of my eyelids, by the way. This isn't in my imagination. This is like a received thing. And I see a vehicle, and then I think I see my friend. And then I hear kind of a distressed voice, her voice say, "Where am I going?" And uh, I was like, "Oh, that's weird." And I was like, "Oh, are they in trouble or whatever?" And then the vision just kind of disappeared. And then, when I was done, I wrote it all down. And then like I do, because with this person, they're actually the reason that inspired me to get into this. So I sent them my little journal entry of what happened last night. And they were like, "Oh my God, did you just do that?" Like, because I sent it like right after I wrote it all down. I was like, "Yeah, yeah, it just happened." She's like, "I'm driving right now. I am literally trying to find my pet sitter's house. I've never been there before. I'm going to drop these dogs off. And I just said out loud, 'Where am I going?' Because I have no idea where I am right now. I'm lost." And I'm like, "Oh, they're in California." And it was sunsetting at that time because it was already nighttime here. So it was dark, 3 hours behind me. So it was sunset there. And I was like, "Wow, that's crazy." So right there, I'm like, "Okay, was that a remote view? All right, that's pretty neat." And then, just yet another thing in my mind blown moments. Um, and then, so like I was really excited about that. And then today I was going through my notes for what I was going to do for this video. And then I realized 2 days ago, I was in the desert in a very similar view. Like, oh, I was being pulled sideways the same direction. And I thought it was a horse because it was something moving very fast. And so I was like, "Hey, were you in a desert when you were driving?" And she sent me a picture of the town she was driving through, and like it looks like a desert. I'll show you an image of it. Look, the image that she sent looked like this, and this is what I saw. I saw hills that looked like a desert. Like, I wasn't looking at it through 3D or HD clarity, but it looked just like that. And so now it's like I have to pay attention to every little sign. I journal everything now because now I'm starting to make connections. So when you talk about the 5 messages, I was wondering, I think I learned 2 answers to my messages. I can remote view, which I think there's a different term for remote viewing because it's not remote viewing like the government. I didn't plan on seeing what I saw, but I also think maybe I saw again, sounds crazy, maybe, maybe I saw into the future 2 days ago and saw what I was about to see. And then 2 days later, I saw it and heard it. I don't know. I can't say for sure. I didn't know she was driving. I can't explain that. And then, just a few days prior, I was able to receive the numbers written on an envelope in her desk. So that's where I'm at. This has been a very revealing uh, few days where it's like one thing, coincidence. But once you start connecting the dots and going backwards, it's hard to see it as a coincidence. And I am an open skeptic. I am an open skeptic. I am somebody who's like, no, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be another way. This is happening. I don't know anymore. I don't know anymore. So with that, again, make up your own mind, and again, experience for yourself. Don't take my word for it. I'm just explaining what I saw, what I did. I don't know. I don't have the answers. I'm new. I don't claim to know anything. But if you've ever had any experiences like that, I'd love to hear about them. But with that, my name is Derek. I'll be back after Christmas with updates from newer meditations, and hopefully I keep on growing. So we'll see you then.